We're going to talk about how to multiply, divide, add, subtract numbers that are in scientific notation format. So I'm going to assume that you know what scientific notation is and how to write numbers in that format. And if you don't, you need to watch the video, the part 1 video. So here I'm going to show you how to do multiplications. I'm also going to touch on how to do this on the calculator that's given to you on the test. Let's say we have a problem. 8.76 times 10 to the 9th times 6.52 times 10 to the negative 3rd divided by 13.27 times 10 to the 5th. So here each of these is written in scientific notation, and so we need to evaluate what the answer is to this. So the way that we do this is, we still follow the order of operations, so we're going to do multiplication first. But to do an operation in scientific notation, if you're multiplying numbers, all you're going to do is take, this is called the base number, right? Your normal decimal number that we're used to seeing, it's just called the base. You're just going to do the operation on the base numbers, and then I'll show you how to deal with the tens. So here we're going to have 8.76 times 6.52. Since this is a multiplication, we're just going to take these two numbers, multiply them times each other. You're going to end up with 57.1152. So that'll be the base part of our answer. Now we have to deal with the 10 part, right? So whenever you're multiplying, you're going to add the exponents. So here we have a 9, here we have a negative 3. So to get the exponent for the 10, we're just going to add these. 9 plus negative 3, which is the same as 9 minus 3, so that's 6. So our answer, when we multiply the two top numbers, is 57.1152 times 10 to the 6th, divided by 13.27 times 10 to the 5th, because we haven't done the division yet. So again, we're just going to do a normal division with the two base numbers, 57.1152 divided by 13.27. You plug that into your calculator. You're going to get kind of a long number. We're just going to round it to 4.3. When you're dividing, because now we're dividing, right? So we're not going to add the exponents. When you're dividing, you subtract the exponents. Okay, so here when you're multiplying, you're going to add them. When you're dividing, you're going to subtract. So this is going to be 6 minus 5. Because here we have a 6, here we have a 5. 6 minus 5 is 1. So our answer, I'll write over here, is 4.3, because 57.1152 divided by 13.27 was about 4.3. It's a long number, but it's about that. Times 10 to the 1. 6 minus 5 equals 1. So that's our final answer for this problem. I'll briefly just go through how you would do this on the calculator. I don't have a calculator with me, but again, watch the video on the Facebook page. So the calculator that you'll have for the test actually has a scientific notation button. So over here, so I'll write over here, what you would do to do, let's say you're going to do this multiplication. You'd put in the base number, so you'd put in 8.76, and then you hit the scientific notation button, which looks like an X, a 10 to the N. That's the scientific notation button. So you go 8.76, X 10 to the N, then you put in the exponent on the 10, which is a 9, and then you're going to hit the right arrow. So there's this thing, it's kind of in an oval where they have different arrows. So you're going to hit the right arrow, and then you're going to hit the operation. So here we're multiplying, so you're going to hit the times button. If you were adding or dividing, you'd hit, the appropriate button. So if you're adding, you'd hit the plus button. And then all you're going to do again is hit the base number, 6.52, the scientific notation button, the exponent. Now here we have a negative exponent, so make sure you hit the negative button and then the 3. And then to just do the operation, you just hit enter. So that's, I'm not looking at the division, I'm just saying if you're going to multiply these two top numbers, this is how you would do it on that calculator. Alright, we're going to do another example. Let's say we had 27.3 times 10 to the 12 times 6.42 times 10 to the second divided by 3 times 10 to the negative sixth. So again, we're going to do multiplication first, so we're just going to do 27.3 times 6.42. That's going to give us 175.266. And then we're going to take our exponents, because here we're multiplying. So it's going to be 12 plus 2 is 14. So we end up with 175.266 times 10 to the 14th divided by 3 times 10 to the negative 6th. So again, we just do the division. 175.266 divided by 3 is going to give you 58.422. And then we're doing a division, so remember we're subtracting the exponents. So we have 14 minus negative 6, which is the same thing as 14 plus 6, right? Minus minus is add. So that gives us 20. So our answer is going to be 58.422 times 10 to the 20th. Now notice though that this isn't really in scientific notation because there should only be one number to the left of the decimal point. So you might look at your answer sheet and this might not be on it. So in order to make this truly into scientific notation, we have to move the decimal to the left one, right? So we have 5.8422. But if we move it to the left one, we have to make this number bigger. So it would be 5.8422 times 10 to the 21st. That might be the answer that's sitting on your answer sheet instead of this one. So remember, if you get to your answer and you don't find exactly what the answer that you got, make sure you're in scientific notation. If you move the decimal point to the left, you have to increase the exponent. If you move it to the right, you're going to decrease the exponent. And you can maybe think of that logically. Here we had 58, but we made it smaller by making it 5.8. Well, if we're going to make this part of this expression smaller, we have to make this part bigger in order for it to be the same number in the end. Okay, so the important thing to remember is when you're multiplying, you just multiply, add the exponents. When you're dividing, you do your normal division on the numbers, and then you subtract the exponents. Adding and subtracting, the only time you can straight out do that is if the exponents are the same. So if we have 6 times 10 to the second plus 3 times 10 to the second, the only way we can do that kind of in the shortcut way is we would add as if these are the same. So we have 10 to the second, 10 to the second. So we can do it. So we just do the operation. 6 plus 3 is 9 times 10 to the second. But again, we leave it as the second. We don't mess around with that. So I know when we did multiplication, we added these. When we did division, we subtracted them. when we're doing addition, we leave it alone. And you can see that this makes sense, because what is 6 times 10 to the second? That's 6 times 100. 6 times 100 is 600. What's 3 times 10 squared? 10 squared is 100. 3 times 100 is 300. That equals 900. What's 9 times 10 squared? 10 squared is 100. 9 times 100 is 900. So we know that we got the right answer. But you can only do addition and subtraction if the number on the exponents is the same. The shortcut way. You can obviously do the multiplication and get the answer that way, but the shortcut way, they have to be the same. So if we had something like 6 times 10 to the third plus 3 times 10 to the fifth, we can't do this the shortcut way. You'd have to plug this in the calculator, and you can use the scientific notation that I just showed you for the calculator, or you can multiply it out 6 times 1,000 plus 3 times 100,000. But you can, this does not equal 9 times 10, because I don't even know what you would do, because remember, we just brought down the 2 here. So whatever that would be, that's why we can't do it this way. So don't do that. You actually have to plug the numbers in your calculator and figure it out. Let's say we had 2.7 times 10 to the 3 minus 1.8 times 10 to the 3. Again, both of them have a 3, so we can do it the shortcut way. 2.7 minus 1.8 is 0.9. Again, you leave the number alone. You don't add them, you don't subtract them. If you're doing addition or subtraction, you have to leave it alone. So we have 0.9 times 10 to the 3. Again, this isn't in scientific notation because there should be one number to the left of the decimal for scientific notation. So we're going to move that over to the right one time. And remember, if you move it to the right, you have to make this smaller. If you move the decimal to the right, this number gets smaller. If you move it to the left, this number gets bigger. Since we moved it to the right one, it got smaller by 1. So it's important to remember multiplying, dividing numbers in scientific notation. You either add or subtract the exponents. But adding and subtracting, you can only do it the shortcut method if they're the same and you leave them alone. You don't do anything to the exponents.